as a father, wanting to make sure your daughter can access higher education, but doing so in a way that aligns with Islamic principles.
Right.
So that's what we're going to be tackling today, the kind of intricate world of Sharia-compliant student loans in the UK.
Yeah, it's a fascinating area where, faith and finance and education all come together.
Yeah.
So it's not just about numbers, but a whole value system,
Right.
which is rooted in Islamic finance.
Yeah.
The core idea being that money has no intrinsic value in itself.
Right.
And that profiting solely from lending money via charging interest,
Okay.
which is known as riba, is forbidden.
Right. So how do Muslim students in the UK navigate this then, who might need financial assistance to go to university?
Yeah, it's a real dilemma, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got these core tenets of Islamic finance, but then also the reality of tuition fees and living expenses.
Right.
But that's where the ingenuity of Islamic finance, I think, really comes in. It's not about just saying no to financial solutions.
Right.
It's about looking for alternative pathways
Right.
that align with Islamic principles and modern-day needs.
Okay, cool. So we've got opinions from some Islamic scholars. We've got the UK government themselves trying to create this Sharia-compliant student loan system.
Yeah.
And then we obviously want to connect all of this back to, what it means for Abdul Karim's daughter and students like her.
Right. Well, maybe a good place to start is with how Islamic scholars view the existing UK student loan system.
Okay.
Because there's actually quite a range of interpretations on this.
Yeah.
Some scholars, for example, like Dr. Sajid Umar,
Okay.
he argues that while the term interest is used, the UK system doesn't actually constitute riba according to Islamic law.
Oh, okay. I'm curious as to why that is. How can that be?
Well, Dr. Umar points to the fact that repayment in the UK system is contingent on income.
Okay.
So you only start repaying once you're earning above a certain threshold.
Right.
So it's not like a traditional loan where interest keeps accumulating regardless of your situation.
Gotcha. So it's more like once you're actually earning.
Yeah, it's less about fixed debt
Okay.
and more about contributing once you are actually earning.
Okay, that makes sense. Are there any other viewpoints, though?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So, for instance, you've got Sheikh Hantham al-Haddad,
Okay.
who views student loans through the lens of what's known as mudaraba,
Okay.
which is a form of Islamic partnership.
Okay.
So let's say you've got an investor who provides capital
Right.
and an entrepreneur who manages a project.
Okay.
Profits and losses are then shared based on a pre-agreed ratio.
Okay, so instead of the traditional lender and borrower,
Exactly.
it's more of a...
It's a collaborative effort.
Okay, but how does that work with student loans then, specifically?
Well, think of the government as the investor who's providing the capital for your education.
Okay.
And you as the student, as the entrepreneur, developing your skills and knowledge.
Okay.
Then, upon graduating and getting a job, you then share a portion of your earnings,
Right.
essentially repaying that investment
Yeah.
based on your success.
Oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it. So we've got scholars taking kind of different approaches.
Yeah.
But has there been any overall kind of shift in how Islamic institutions as a whole view student loans?
Yeah. Actually, there has.
Look.
The Islamic Fiqh Academy of India initially opposed government loans,
Right.
but then actually reversed their position
Really?
because they saw the negative impact on Muslim students' access to education.
Oh, wow.
So it shows you how Islamic jurisprudence
Right.
tries to adapt to these contemporary issues.
Okay, so we've got these different interpretations from scholars.
Yeah.
What about the UK government themselves? What are they doing to address this need for a system that works for Muslims?
Well, here's a surprising fact.
Okay.
The UK government has actually been exploring a Sharia-compliant student finance alternative since 2013.
Really? Wow, I had no idea it had been in the works for that long. What's the approach they've decided to go with?
Well, they've chosen to model it on the Takaful system,
Okay.
which is a mutual support model that's a cornerstone of Islamic finance.
Can you break down for me exactly what takaful means and how it works?
So instead of individuals borrowing from a bank and paying interest,
Right.
imagine a group of people pooling their money together to support each other.
Okay.
So it's like a collective fund where everyone contributes and everyone benefits.
Okay.
So it's about shared responsibility,
Right.
mutual aid,
Right.
and this sense of community support
Okay.
rather than a traditional lender-borrower relationship.
So it's less about individual transactions and more about collective.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting the sense of community and shared responsibility here,
That's
which is quite different from how we normally think about banking.
absolutely.
And the key takeaway here is that the government wants to make this alternative financially equivalent to traditional loans.
That's right.
So the repayment amounts, the timings, all of that will be the same. But the actual mechanism underneath it all will operate according to Islamic principles.
Right.
So it's trying to create that level playing field where Muslim students aren't disadvantaged financially, but also they're not compromising their beliefs.
That's the idea.
Has it been smooth sailing setting this up, though?
Well, like many government initiatives, it's had its share of delays.
Right. I seem to remember the Higher Education Research Act of 2017.
Yeah.
Wasn't that supposed to pave the way for these alternative payments?
It did, yeah. It gave them the power to create these payments.
Okay.
But they're still not in place. And then there was the Auger report on post-18 education funding back in 2019, which did acknowledge the need for this faith-compatible financing, but didn't go into much detail.
So there's been this recognition of the need, but the actual implementation has been lacking somewhat.
Yeah.
So what's the latest? When can we actually expect to see this alternative as a reality?
Well, unfortunately, it won't be ready for the 2025 launch of the Lifelong Learning Entitlement, which is replacing the existing student loan system in England.
Right.
But the government insists they're aiming to implement it as soon as possible after that.
Okay, so not quite there yet.
No.
But at least there's a commitment.
Yeah.
But how does this all connect back to Abdul Karim and his daughter?
Right.
What are the implications for them right now?
Well, a fully Sharia-compliant option isn't available just yet for her.
Right.
But the good news is the wheels are in motion.
Okay.
The UK government is actively working toward it.
Okay.
And they've made that clear commitment
to
implement it as soon as they can.
So what are her options in the meantime?
Well,
I mean, it's a bit of a waiting game, isn't it?
It is, unfortunately. She could consider taking out a traditional student loan.
Right.
We've talked about the different opinions among Islamic scholars.
Yeah.
About whether the current system is permissible.
Yeah.
Some scholars, as we've said, like Dr. Sajid Umar,
Yeah.
believe that because repayment is tied to income,
Right.
it doesn't actually constitute riba.
So it might be worth, Abdul Karim and his daughter, speaking with a trusted Islamic scholar.
Absolutely.
Who can advise based on their specific circumstances.
Yeah, getting that religious guidance
Yeah.
from a qualified scholar who can address their specific concerns
Yeah.
is essential.
Right. And putting aside those religious considerations, what are some of the kind of wider benefits then of having this Sharia-compliant alternative?
Well, the government's impact assessments have highlighted some interesting potential benefits.
Okay.
So for starters, it removes a significant barrier to higher education.
Right.
For those who object to traditional loans on religious grounds.
Yeah, so it's opening doors to more people.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
And then the benefits extend beyond just those individuals.
Okay.
Because when more people have access to higher education, you tend to see a more skilled workforce.
Right. So it boosts the economy overall.
Precisely.
That's a good point.
There's also the argument that it could lead to higher income tax and national insurance payments from all those graduates.
Right. All those graduates going into well-paying jobs.
Exactly.
Contributing more back into the system.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
That benefits everyone.
I hadn't even considered that, actually.
And let's not forget those kind of less tangible benefits.
Right.
Think about the positive impact on students who are able to pursue their education without compromising their religious beliefs.
Yeah, that peace of mind.
Yeah, that peace of mind.
Feeling like you're not going against
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's got to contribute to a more positive and fulfilling educational experience.
It's about more than just the money, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's about feeling supported in who you are. And I guess that's what this whole discussion is about.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Creating a fairer, more inclusive system that allows everyone to reach their full potential.
Regardless of their background.
Yeah.
So while we wait for this fully Sharia-compliant student finance option to be rolled out, there's still a lot to be optimistic about.
Absolutely. Things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
The UK government is taking these concrete steps to make this a reality.
But let's bring it back to Abdul Karim and his daughter.
Yeah.
This deep dive was prompted by his very real concerns.
That's right.
About his daughter's future.
He wants to make sure she has the best possible chance to succeed.
Right.
Whilst being true to her family's values.
Yeah.
And I think that's a sentiment that a lot of parents,
regardless of background,
can relate to.
So as we kind of wrap up this part of the deep dive, what are some key takeaways for Abdul Karim as he's thinking about all of this?
Well, I think the first thing is just to stay informed.
Okay.
This whole world of Islamic finance, especially around student loans, is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on developments from the UK government. Engage with Islamic scholars.
Okay.
Stay connected with organizations like the Islamic Finance Council UK.
Okay.
They're a great resource.
Right. So be proactive and do your research.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And remember, there isn't one definitive answer on whether or not existing student loans are permissible under Islamic law.
Right.
So talking to a trusted scholar can really help make a decision that sits right with them.
It's about finding that sweet spot
between
your principles and, the reality of life.
Exactly.
And in the meantime, they could explore alternative funding avenues like scholarships.
Yeah, scholarships, grants.
Grants, that are specifically,
for Muslim students.
Aimed at Muslim students, which could help ease that financial burden.
Exactly.
Any good resources for finding those?
Yeah, there are a few, actually.
Okay.
The Muslim Charities Forum has a really good list of scholarships. And then you've got organizations like the Aziz Foundation, who are specifically focused on supporting British Muslim students.
Great.
So worth checking out their websites.
Yeah, cool. And finally, remember, this is temporary.
Yeah. It is.
Even though the full rollout might take a bit longer.
Yeah.
The government's commitment is a positive sign.
Absolutely.
So a bit of patience and that proactive research can go a long way.
And it brings us to a thought-provoking question, I think, for Abdal Karim to consider.
Yeah.
Given everything we've discussed, how would he advise his daughter to navigate these options while staying true to her beliefs?
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
It is.
It's one they'll have to make together, really.
Yeah, it's a personal decision at the end of the day.
But at least they have the information to make an informed choice.
Well, that's what we've tried to provide here today.
Exactly.
A deep dive into this complex world of Sharia-compliant student loans.
Faith finance and the pursuit of knowledge.
All intertwined.
All coming together.
And we hope Abdal Karim and everyone else listening has found this exploration valuable.
Thanks for joining us
On the Deep Dive